So in this episode, I want to share 3 reasons why you should not get into the hearing care industry. My name's Oli Luke and welcome to the Business of Hearing podcast. If you're a private practice hearing care leader that wants to grow iconic local status and grow reputation, recognition, and revenue, then you're in the right place. Weird topic, right? And I'm going to assume if you're watching this, it could be for a variety of reasons. Either you just watch these episodes. Hello. It may be that you're considering a career in hearing care. Hello. There's a number of reasons. And I just want to speak frankly and honestly because, I accidentally met this industry in 2017. Prior to then, I'd never really even considered it as an industry that existed, right? I've never been in the market for hearing care. No one in my extended family had. It's one of those industries that there's hundreds of them that exist, right? That we're just not really in our consciousness. And this, I accidentally met it, and the backstory is very simple. I was working with a guy at the time, helping him launch a book that went on to do really, really well. I was working with him from a marketing perspective. And then when he launched that book, we were sat down having a conversation, and I asked him, what's going on? What does your next few weeks look like? And he shared he's doing some work with some hearing care clinics in the US. And I was like, oh, that's weird. Tell me more. And he told me more. And I said, how do they market? He told me how they market. I nearly fell off my seat. And as a result, I came along, shared some ideas with a few clinics, and accidentally ended up working with a few. That grew. And here I am today, with it pretty much dominating all aspects of my life. So it's funny how this industry takes grip of you, but we'll come on to that in a moment. But there's 3 big reasons why I believe it's probably not an industry that many people should step into. And then I'll come to a final point on this. The first one is, this is one of the only industries in the world that absolutely messes with your psychology. And what I mean by that is, if you consider every other buying decision that you could possibly have, they often start with emotion, and then you've got to justify it with logic. So let's take an example. If you want to buy a car, very few people will buy a car solely based on emotion. Solely based on logic. It will nearly always be emotion. They want to buy that new BMW. They really want that car. They love that car. Every time they see it, they look at it. They've even gone online and configured the exact car that they want. It's such an emotional thing. It'll show others that, I've achieved X, Y, Z, whatever it may be. There's a lot of emotion tied into it. But then when they sit down and start looking through the numbers, looking through the logistics, that's where logic now needs to take a step in. So it's like, okay, it's going to cost me this much, but I can justify this. It's going to be safe for the kids. It's going to give me all this extra trunk space, whatever it may be. The logic then kicks in. And of course, this also happens on clothes, jewelry, even dare I say grocery shopping to a degree. We all make emotional decisions over logical decisions in the grocery store. But with hearing care, if you put yourself in the shoes of a patient, it's completely reversed. Because it's not an emotional decision. It's a very logic-driven decision. They need to do something to help with their hearing. It's a very direct, I've got a problem, I need to find a solution to the problem. And then post-logic, then they've got to deal with the emotional baggage that comes with it. So whereas most buying decisions are emotion, then logic, that's how we're used to buying as humans, this one is logic, deal with the emotions surrounding it, which makes this industry very unique and very difficult because however you look at it, it fundamentally sells something that people never want to own. Nobody wakes up looking forward to the day they can buy their first set of hearing aids. We've got that bit reversed, which means this is a challenging industry. Now, what's the flip side of that? Well, it's pretty exciting to try and do something that's difficult to do. Just my 2 cents. The second big reason why I think this industry is very, very challenging and should probably avoid it is there's a myth that's been told so often that people believe it is true. And that is the belief that what people need if they've got a hearing challenge is a set of hearing aids in order to solve it. When people are sat around the dinner table and dad can't hear, what do people say to dad? Dad, you need hearing aids, right? That nobody's saying, Dad, you need to see a qualified professional who's got a track record of helping many people to achieve better hearing through a methodical process of best practices. Nobody says that. Dad, you need hearing aids. And this belief that a hearing aid is a solution to a hearing loss creates a lot of havoc on the industry, because what does that do? People are looking to price shop the device. People think the widget is the star, and it devalues everything that the expertise of this industry has. The hearing care, the journey, the expertise, all the extra important aspects of that journey, the testing, the fitting, etc., which fundamentally makes it difficult, because you've then got to overcome a big misconception and a myth. If you're sat face to face with a patient sharing how you can help them, and share this is the price point and the devices are this part of the equation, then that creates confusion for the patient, right? If they believe the hearing aid is the thing and the hearing aid's $3,000 and you're asking for $7,000, then you've got to justify what that extra $4,000 is. Makes it very, very difficult, especially when they can go and just Google the exact model of hearing aid you've shared with them and they see it for significantly less online. Like, these are the puzzles we have to deal with. People think it's a device only. You need to educate them. They need significantly more than the device in order to solve the challenge. And then the third one. The third big strength is we're surrounded as an industry, as independents in the industry, by Goliaths. Costco have the biggest competitive advantage ever. Like, their cost of goods is incredibly low. You've got to consider, like, the baby boomer market is what they've been built on as a business. Like, they've educated millions, tens of millions, hundreds of millions of people that if they want access to lower cost of goods, then Costco is the place to go. Because Costco buy in bulk, they pass those savings on to their customers. That's the story. It's an exclusive club. And those customers have flocked in for years and years and years. So as they start to age now and finally get to the point they need hearing aids, what's the first thing they remember? Well, if I need to make a buying decision, Costco's always looked after me. That's the place I can get access to the discounts due to their bulk buying. And it's naturally pulling that narrative. Costco are a huge Goliath and a huge pain in the ass to many small independents. Similarly, manufacturer-owned chains. Like, we see a few right now that are consolidating like crazy. They're buying practices, they're throwing money, they're raising money, they're leveraging money. Amplifon are a big one right now. They've just done a lot of buying back shares, and they're going to use them for part of their transactions going forward, which is a whole different topic I could go down a rabbit hole on. So they're getting ready to be really, really aggressive right now from an acquisition push. So we've got manufacturer-owned chains, we've got Costco's. I'm not going to count Apple in there just because it's a very different product for a different segment of the market. But like, we've got Goliaths that we're fighting with as independents. The problem with that is the Goliaths have all the strengths and we have all the weaknesses. Because what do Goliaths lean into? Well, they lean into, you need a set of hearing aids. You don't need all that hearing care nonsense. And as a result, quantity. They sell hearing aids. And of course, I'm not saying there's great people in those businesses that really care, but like, that model is built on numbers. Like, it's not built on how do we spend more time with patients and really care about all the details over 5, 10, 15, 20 years. It's units, right? That's the model of Costco. That's the model of a chain that has to meet certain numbers and is more of a sales-focused approach. And as a result, as small independents, we've got a lot of fighting to do, sometimes looking like we're on the back foot and actually we're on the front foot. So if we really break it down, should you enter the hearing care industry? A lot of logic says no. A lot of logic says this is the craziest industry in the world. You've got to sell in a way that is absolutely against normality. You've got to sell with logic first and emotion second, which absolutely breaks the way that most people make buying decisions. You've got to overcome the biggest misconception and myth that people think they need a pair of hearing aids to solve a hearing challenge, and you educate them on why not. And then, of course, we're fighting with Goliaths that have every possible strength stacked in their favor and every possible weakness almost stacked in ours. So from pure logic, if you want to enter an industry that is easy and have an easy career, selling things that people naturally want, making them achieve outcomes that are easy for them to say yes to, then this is a challenging industry. This is not your industry for you. But if you like challenge, you like meaningfulness, if you like actually making an impact and doing things not because they're easy, but because they're important, then I think hearing healthcare is the industry that is probably the most underappreciated in the world. Because the time I've spent in this industry has been so key. And what I've learned about it is it's this perfect mix of how do we combine healthcare? How do we combine expertise? How do we combine sales? How do we combine empathy? And how do we all do that with all these conditions against us? And I think every other business can look at hearing healthcare and find a whole number of lessons that exist in this small, tiny, but powerful industry. So as I'm kind of 8 years into this industry, that's some of my opinions around it. It's been a weird, wonderful, wild journey that I'm excited to continue to many, many, many more years. But if you're considering entering it, no, it's not for the easy, it's for the brave. But there's so much good work that you can do once you understand those factors and can lean into them hard. So yeah, hopefully that's helpful. Maybe it makes no sense, does in my head. But I appreciate you joining me for 11 or so minutes as I just shared some of the reasons why I believe hearing care is one of the most challenging industries in the world, yet the most rewarding.